Good evening and welcome to Options Center. It is Monday, 9/11/23. Welcome everybody. If you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Center logo and subscribe so you can get all this wonderful information on the market updates, sometimes trade setups. We'll check out Tesla a little bit later today, and we'll look at a couple of the big cap tech stocks because some didn't participate in this move here, and we have Apple events happening tomorrow. So those are super important. I think that it just appears that the market still has some room to go to the upside, and I'll show you why, and I'll show you what happens if anything changes with that. Okay, so we'll check out SPY on the daily 65 QQQ. And then we'll head over to a couple other indices, including the VIX. We'll check that one out too. So we have a little bit of time here to go through this information. We'll try to make this as fast as possible. We have SPY. All right, on the daily time frame. By the way, if you like this information, consider helping out at least, at minimum, like this video. It helps us get this information out and get those logarithms moving and shaken. Okay, we have SPY on the daily time frame. You see these boxes, they are consolidation areas. Well, we have a consolidation area. That's why we have the resistance and support here. So it's very important to look into this zone. We bounced off of it. We got into the zone just on top of it, into support area, previous resistance, and price held above it. We had the tail candle on Friday, and we gapped over it on ADMA and the 50-day moving average. So that is bullish in itself. Now we are still in a near-term downtrend, but we are gaining some momentum here on the 8 EMA and the 50. So that kind of builds up the bullish scenario. And when I say bullish, it's just a little bit higher prices. I'm not looking for a new high or anything like that. Is it possible? Sure. All scenarios are possible. So we're looking at this downward move here as the initial impulse, and we're just retracing. I would consider this a correction, and we're looking at this. We have a three-wave move. That correction could be over right there. We have all this confluence of trend lines and rising pivots to where we rejected off of it. But can we go back and test a little bit higher? Of course. And that's what we're looking at doing at this point, because we're holding this consolidation area. So if a price reverses, takes out the trend lines, this trend line here, this support area, gets back underneath the 8 EMA or the 50 simple moving average, it's clear. It will be clear we're starting the downtrend. Okay, we do want to take out this low for confirmation, but you know, there will be other clues such as this 443, 444 area. Getting underneath there should be the nail in the coffin. All right, so looking at some of the indicators, we crossed bearish. We're just holding the momentum. We're just holding on to it. So this could rise a little bit more. We haven't had a bear cross yet for the confirmation of these sell signals. We had a slight bearish divergence along with a breakdown from the 80 line on the stochastics. And so right there in itself, yes, sell signal. But we're kind of just back testing. We're making a higher low right now. We're back testing. So we need to see the crossover on the MACD to confirm this move. So let's go over to QQQ. And on the Qs, it's really just the same situation. Okay. We had this rising pivot. We tested it, got back over it. Now we're back testing it again. Do we have a little bit higher to go? Sure. Can we get back over it? Yeah, we proved that already. And we're pushing off of this this downtrend line. We held it. We held the downtrend. We're back above the 8 EMA. We're back above the 50. This is you know, somewhat bullish for a little bit higher prices. So we have to be careful not to go against the trend and have a bunch of puts on right now. So we're leaning to the upside. We are long Apple calls, NVIDIA calls, and more. Square. There's quite a few. So I'm not going to show all of them. Tesla we got out of today with such a huge move, but I don't think that Tesla's done moving to the upside, and that's part of why those tech stocks are giving us clues to why I think that we still have some room to go. We're not going to look at the indicator. It just says the same thing. Same thing. So we're going to go over to, since we're on the daily time frame, we're in Bitcoin. We're looking for a slight bounce in Bitcoin. Do we get it from right at this point? Well, I hope so, because if we break down from this this next pivot, then we have to get out of our position. But we're looking at a Bitcoin today, got above the 200-day moving average. We're in that chop zone. I could draw a box here. This is very chopped. It's a range zone. Top of the range, bottom of the range, top of the range. We're back at the bottom of the range. And typically, you don't just break through the range, okay? So we're right at that 200-day moving average. We're at support. We have what looks like a 5-wave sequence that should be about finished if it's not going to finish tomorrow. And we should see some sort of bounce. And so that's what we're playing. We're just playing a bounce. We think we have a 5-wave impulse and that we're looking for lower prices. Others are going to say, if you're bullish, you're going to say this is some sort of maybe some sort of flat or so. Maybe you're saying this is an A, B, and then a C, 5-wave move down, some sort of expanding flat or something like that. But I can't see it. A 1, 2, 1, 2. It doesn't matter. On the bear side, I think we have our first impulse wave down, and we're looking to get some sort of bounce, and then we'll continue to the downside. So I just wanted to show that real quick because that's one of our positions. Let's move down to, let's go back to SPY. Or let's do VIX while we're on this daily time frame as well. Okay, so what's important about the VIX, okay? We have this wedge. It's not drawn in here, but we have this wedge. Back tested the wedge. Broke out from it. Back tested again. But we have this gap here, okay? Let me draw this gap in here. We have this gap in here, and I'm not sure that the gap is going to be left open before we start heading lower in price action. So we do have a gap here that it looks like we're pressing it at 8 EMA, and it looks like we're going to go down to close that gap. And I think that's where we'll be looking for an objective short position. We also have a trend line from here. We have a trend line underneath. That's going to play an important part. And then if we break down from here, then that means we're in a scenario where we're going to get higher prices, probably a new high, new recent high. So what are we looking for? We're looking for this gap to close, to get to this trend line, and to continue and to reverse to the upside where the market should reverse to the downside. Okay, so it just appears that we have a little bit higher to go on the SPY, QQQ, and even IWM. My gosh, there's no participation in the small caps at all. So we are long small caps. Maybe the small caps is what actually keeps the market up going into the future here, the near future. So let's look at SPY. Let's go down to the 65-minute. We got a lot more information on here. Not the 130. Let's go to the 65. Again, we use these 65-minute candles so we have an even trading day, even candles on the trading day. That's the only reason. Okay, so we had our initial move down here. We talked about, in yesterday's video, we talked about chop. We're still in this triangle. This is a chop zone. We're going to go up and down. We're going to have volatility. But to simplify this and to give a visual of what's happening is we have our possible top here, which is an ABC correction, and it was plenty deep enough to test this gap. But seeing how the VIX is, seeing how some of these tech stocks that I'm going to show you a little bit later, how they're positioned, you can look at this as being an initial A, 3-wave move up for A, and then a 3-wave move down for B, which this also could be counted as a 5-wave move, impulsive move. Okay, but this could, if this trend line holds, here, then we could possibly have a wave C up towards the top, possibly closing the gap, filling this wedge. And when I say wedge, it's this this line up here and this trend line here. Okay, so I gave all three. Check out the video from yesterday. It's a little bit more thorough on these situations. Well, my primary situation was to reject off of this is the 50% retracement. You know, the 618 is a little bit higher. My primary situation was to reject off the 618 retracement and to head lower, to break this trend line, But what still stands is that we could still go higher and make a new high over this high we had on Friday. Okay, it's still possible that we can go up there. We break out from the triangle, we head into more resistance, and then there are different scenarios that we could look at on the more bullish side at that point. And we will mention them. But at this point, we just have the two. As long as this trend line holds, we have the two scenarios. We have the initial move down. We're back testing, retracing, possibly up to the 618, possibly all the way up to 786. And then we head lower, sharply lower. Okay, we have catalysts this week. We have the Apple event tomorrow, and then we have the CPI Wednesday before the bell, and PPI Thursday before the bell. So we have a lot of things going on, that a lot of catalysts. So not only are we in a chop zone, but it's also going to be volatile. So we're going to have sharp moves back and forth. You have to be real careful. You know, have hedges on or reduce your trading size. Okay, so we have our initial move down. As long as this trend line holds, we're looking at two scenarios: coming up to retrace and heading lower, or to make a new high, possibly with NVIDIA and Apple and Tesla moving the market up. Big tech is on a move. Okay, you saw them moving today. Google didn't participate very much, but Google already made a new high. Google's it's outrageous, the move that Google's had. Okay, so now what's the other scenario? What if we break down as soon as tomorrow? Maybe Apple takes us down. I don't think so. It doesn't look positioned to do that, but we'll take a look at it a little bit later. If this does break down here, this trend line, now we have another two scenarios that I'll be looking at. And that's just coming down to the bottom of the triangle. And if this holds, that's a much more bullish scenario, because we have our 3-wave move down. And again, this is a triangle. We'd be filling out the triangle before we broke to the upside or downside. But if you look at yesterday's video, it's a lot more thorough on these points of view. So we break down from this trend line and we hold this triangle bottom. Then that means we fill it out more and we probably break to the upside. If we break this trend line and then we break this trend line, lights out. That's our bearish scenario. That's our primary scenario, that we head much lower and will accelerate movement to the downside for another impulsive wave. So those are the scenarios. Right now, we don't have to worry about the breakdown yet, because we're still holding this trend. We're holding this trend. We're still in the triangle, though. Okay, let's get a point of view from the indicators. Now, what tells me that we're not dropping? We don't have any sell signals. The MACD is just not. We're crossing over on the MACD to the upside. That's a bullish crossover. We had our divergence, our positive divergence playing out, and we're in oversold area. It's oversold conditions, but this is not a sell signal in itself. It can go higher. It can get more oversold. We can create divergences. The stochastics are in the overbought territory, which means price action is strong to the upside. Price action has strength. There's no sell signal. This thing can oscillate on the top for a while, but as soon as we cross over on the 80, or at least get a defined crossover, you know, it would give us a clue, but we're just pinned to the top right there. We're heading into the territory here. We're not heading out. So it still appears we have more upside to go. Okay. Taking a look at QQQ. It's really the same scenario. We have a triangle that you could consider broke out from already, but I drew it up top here just in case we break out from this point of view. But it's very similar to SPY. We have our wedge formed from this bottom. We have our wedge top, and we possibly just fill this out a little bit more. We're a little bit closer to the top of this triangle. You know, this is all perspective. These are drawn for a reason. So we draw these lines and things, so it gives us something to put our back against. Okay, so I know that we have this rising pivot here. We have this this pivot from the top here. So this is going to give us problems. Also, the options expected move. You better believe we better take off some risk right in this zone. Could price continue to upside? Yeah, if Apple from the event is soaring to the upside, then you know that this continue to play on. Okay. You notice that SPY, we didn't get a new high right here. We rejected off and came back. This is what makes me think that the primary situation that I was talking about, the primary, I have doubts that we're going to break down from this point. We could break down from a little higher, and that will still be the same situation. But I'm getting a little bit more to the point where I see an A-B. This is possibly a 1-2. Because if this is an A-B-C for a larger degree A, then we get a three-wave move down, which is more defined in this QQQ. For a B, then we're looking for an impulsive C. It has to be a 5-wave move. 1, 2, and we're working on wave 3. You get a consolidation for 4 and 5 to push a little higher. You can look at this on the Elliott wave. We're past the 618. We rejected off it pretty hard. I added on put protection there, but took it off when I saw that we were gaining strength. So I think this doesn't show anything complete here. There's no 3-wave move. As a matter of fact, there's a 5-wave move, if anything, but it just looks really incomplete. Okay, so I do believe that we still have room to go, and that could be as high as this 383, 384 area, which would be the 127% retracement of this move here. That's a typical spot to take off profit. It still leaves open 388, but it's just not likely that we make it up this high, or else something else is going on. Okay, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the SPY. Same situation. This trend line's holding. So we're bullish. We're bullish in this micro term while this trend line holds. We break down from this, and the other two scenarios start to play out. You fill out the triangle more, or you break down and you head much lower, much faster. All right. Let's go over to, start off with Apple since we have the event tomorrow. Apple on the 65-minute. We are long Apple right now. We got long Apple when price broke down here. It looked like an expanding flat. So it looked like some sort of correction here. We held on to the bottom of that gap area. Once that held on, I added on a call position. And now price is just in a consolidation zone. So we're looking at this. It could come back a little bit, but we're looking at this consolidation zone as a breakout. This does not look like a bearish setup. You had your initial move down, which looks like an impulsive move down, and a bounce, a three-wave bounce so far. And this could be your initial A, and then we're getting some sort of B correction inside of here. And then we continue with the C. And we could just simply back test this trend line here. That would satisfy this being an impulsive move. And then we head lower from there. This would also take the market up with it. Now with the Apple event, if price action ends up being super bullish with Apple and is Apple's relentless, then we can do the same scenario as the broader market. This can be an ABC initially. And then you can have this you could really count this as a 5-wave move as well. If you have this upper area, we're at the 189.92 is the high here, and 189.98. So we made it a slight high. You honestly could count this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that would, if that's the case, then you would need, if this were a zigzag, so this would be a 3-wave move down, and then you're looking for 5 more waves up. Since we are so deep here, the 100% A equals C would probably be right at the trend line, and we'd close this gap. So this would be another objective short here. We're looking at these two scenarios, either coming back to backtest this trend line, or if price action is really strong, then we're looking at coming up here to the downtrend, which would also be the, let's see if we got our retracements here. Yes, that would probably coincide to this 188 area. See, I already have the projections. Down at this low here, this was what I was projecting right off the bat. Coming back to this trend line and rejecting, or coming all the way back up for a new near-term high and rejecting off of that downtrend line, which would probably be a little less, or more or less the 786 range. Okay, the also with the indicators on Apple, just notice, you know, we have all these bullish crossovers. The stochastic crossing to the upside, is it overbought? It's not even up to overbought territory. Stochastic, again, holding, making higher lows. The RSI, right here at the 60, it's nowhere near being overbought for Apple. You know, look at how overbought it was over here. I mean, we're talking the 90 range for the RSI. We're up to the 60. You know, that's not a huge bounce. That's okay. It doesn't mean that price can't reverse. Every scenario is you know, has a probability. I just don't think it's probable that we reverse from here. I think we have a little higher to go. We have a bullish crossover here. You see the histogram heading to the upside. So I do think we at least test the 0 line, and that would probably bring us to the back test of this trend line there. So there's nothing bearish about the indicators at this point on this chart. The other stock we want to look at was NVDA. NVDA, why did I put in multiple calls on NVDA? I did a YouTube short on this, so if you're subscribed, you can get those YouTube shorts. I like to put trade setups on there. I try to do one daily if I have a trade setup. Okay, NVDA, why are we bullish on here? So we have, well, first of all, you know what, let's go to the daily. That will show us a little bit more of what's happening on this daily time frame. We even have a weekly setup. Let me look up here. We're right at our 8 EMA on the weekly, as well as on the daily. We're bouncing off of the 50-day moving average. This is a simple moving average. So yes, we are underneath the 8 EMA, but this is just peaking underneath. You know, this is building if you go back to the 65, first of all, we have a possible reversal candle. It's not a huge like, doji candle. It's not much different. It's not much different than that. On the 65, we have it drawn out to where you can see it's a flag. You have the channel top and the channel bottom. Came down to that channel bottom, reversing off of it, made somewhat of a doji candle. We're still underneath the downtrend, but this is just a flag. We have an A, B, and a possible C. Can we get one more low? Sure. I could count it to where there could be one more low in here for an Elliott wave, and it just create a little bit more positive divergence. So if we put on the indicators here, we're getting our bullish cross. We're getting our bullish cross right now. We have a downtrend line from the RSI. We're breaking out of that downtrend line. We have our bull cross here. We have a buy signal, buy signal, buy signal. With divergence, we have bullish divergence. That's another buy signal. We have all these buy signals right here that took place today. So we jumped into quite a few NVIDIA calls. Okay, taking these back off, and we have the Elliott wave. The Elliott wave count here, we have this A is equal. We came down right to where it equals C here. So if you took you can either draw a line or you can use your extension tool. So during the trading hours when price started to break down, I already had a NVIDIA call on, and that one wasn't doing so well because we made a lower low. Now from the bottom, so this is all wave A, from the bottom of wave A to the top of B here, you see that C ends right here at the 100% extension. Can it go further? Sure, it always can. But that's a perfect symmetry there. And it also, price had the extension, the 261.8 extension that it was honoring very well as support and then resistance. And so this is a great support resistance line. So we came right into that support, into the 445 area, and we held on to that support. Okay, so we have a gap up here. I do expect to close that gap. We have our retracement. Just in case this is a bear scenario, this looks bullish to me. You have a 5-wave move up. You have a correction. And then you have, and how low did this correction come? From the bottom of this 5-wave move, if you take our retracement tool, go to the top of that move, we're in that zone. We're in that golden zone between the 50 and 60 retracement. Okay, so we're in that zone to where this could be a 1-2 setup. Now, I am bearish on the market, so I don't want to hold a position into this area in hopes that price gets above it. So we're at a nice pivot here. We have the ABC, but this could be a 1-2, 1-2 setup, and that's how I'm going to play it. The market is, I'm bearish on the market, so I have to be bearish on a lot of the stock. So if this is a 1-2 setup, a 1-2-1-2 setup, take the top of the retrace to the bottom of the retrace, and I'm looking for price to, at minimum, close this gap right here at the 470, 471 area. If the market is strong, it may get up to this 478 as well. Right in this zone, I'll be looking to short, and then we'll see what happens there. If we start to get above there, you know, it's not. We'll have to lighten up our position or hedge. This thing would be going higher as a bull flag. Okay, so you saw that this didn't really participate today. As a matter of fact, it was going down. It was down almost 2%. I think it was down 2% today, holding down the market, holding against the market. So going into the Apple event, I think this will open up some of the volatility. I think will move a little bit faster. And then if not, CPI should really let us rip. So maybe we go up from the Apple event, and then we get CPI in the morning. Make sure you hedge overnight, and we start reversing at some point. Let's see. So Tesla, we want to check out Tesla. And this is another reason. This is the third reason why, price action from these tech stocks is holding up the market and could bring it up just a little bit more. I feel Tesla still has some room to go. You have the gap up here. It could try to close this gap. It is right into resistance here, but we don't have a complete wave in here. If this is an A, B, C, D, E triangle, yes, then maybe all 5 waves are in here, and this is complete. I am short Tesla into tomorrow, into this week, up here. But we reversed. We were in Tesla calls, and I had a short on that, a YouTube short video on that as well. So I had this trade set up last Friday, so we got into Tesla calls and took our calls off at this doji right here, this reversal doji. Price continued to the upside right into resistance, so we decided to take just a little one lot put into see if we get some sort of retracement. Probably won't hold on to it long. But if this is an ABC, this being wave B, maybe the wave B is all done in here, and now we have a 1-2, 1-2 setup, and Tesla has a lot more to move. Now, if you have your ABC continued down to here, now we only have 1, 2, 3, a wave 4, and then 5 to complete. That's what I'm kind of leaning more towards, that we have at least one more high, but we could have 2 more highs coming up. That's another reason why we think the market is going to go higher from here, but not too much higher. Okay? Not much higher. I'm going to go over to IWM real quick. We had no participation in IWM. Doesn't look much different than what happened with Apple. We had our bullish divergence, had a nice big move here. I do think this was a expanded flat. I do think this is an A, expanded B, and C. And so I do think our top is in for the small caps. But I do expect more of a retracement. We got this little 3-wave move bounce. I don't think that's done yet. I think this is an A, initial A. We got our retracement into the 618 retracement here, and that's also the uptrend line. And I think this will continue at least to the options expected move, which should, if we put on our Elliott wave board, you see we got our retracement into that golden area. And I think that we at least retrace here to the 187, possibly 188 area for retracement. So we're in the calls for IWM as well, just for this bounce. And then I think we continue lower. I think this initial wave 1, 2, and a 1, 2 setup. Not much different than what NVIDIA was showing there, but just obviously a lot more stretched out for the IWM. I think that's all I want to show you today. Another look at the VIX, at that gap that I was showing you. We have our trend line here that we held, has 3 touches, so it's a valid trend line. We have this gap that's still open. I think we'll look to close this gap going into the rest of the week, into Apple, into CPI, and PPI. I think we should close this. If it closes tomorrow, then I'm gonna take the puts in the market and some calls in UVIXI and stuff like that. So I do think that's bearish. Once we get to this is objective point, we want to close this gap, and we'll see what point we are in the market and how high it's gone, and see if there's a setup and structure in that 5-wave move, whether it's a new high or not. So that's what I have to show you. If you have any questions, put it in the comment area. If there's something else that you'd like to see, go ahead and comment. And don't forget to like the video. And if you go down in the description, please decide to help out in any way that possible. And have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.